One strategy that comes up again and again in author circles is chasing trends or writing to market. You have probably heard the advice yourself. Someone will say that mafia romance is hot right now, or hockey romance is taking off, or dragon shifters are suddenly everywhere. The implication is that if you move quickly enough and write the right trope at the right moment, you can ride that wave and make some good money. And the truth is that advice is not entirely wrong. Trend chasing can work, and I have seen authors make very good money doing exactly that. But what I want to talk about today is something that rarely gets discussed, which is what kind of business model trend chasing actually creates. Because the question is not simply, can this make money? The real question is, what kind of career does this build? And when we look at that question through the lens of business building rather than short-term tactics, the picture starts to look very different. Let me describe a few situations I have seen many times over the years. The first one usually starts with excitement. So an author notices a new trope trending in their genre. Maybe it's hockey romance, maybe it's billionaire romance, maybe it's dark academy or dragon shifters. They look at the charts, they see books moving quickly, and they think, I could write something like that. So they pivot. They write fast, they release quickly, and sometimes the book does well for a few months. But then the next trend appears. Suddenly readers are talking about something else. Maybe now it's mafia romance or academy romance or monster romance. And the author feels that familiar pressure again. If I do not pivot, I might miss the moment. So they pivot again. What starts to happen is that the writing career slowly turns into a hamster wheel. Speed becomes the strategy. You are not simply writing books any moment, you are racing the market. And the market can move very quickly. I have watched authors in fast-moving genres feel like they have to produce something close to a book a month just to stay visible in that trend cycle. By the time the book is written, edited, and released, the conversation may already be moving somewhere else. That kind of pace works beautifully for some writers. Using ghostwriters and AI are options that authors turn to maintain the monthly release schedule, and then the quality of the story becomes a point of interest. For many authors, especially those who care deeply about the stories they tell, it becomes actually exhausting. This is where I want to shift the conversation from tactics to business, because chasing trends is not just a writing strategy, it's actually a business model. And the business model behind trend chasing is speed. Speed in writing, speed in production, speed in marketing. If the trend cools down, the income usually cools down with it. That means your income depends on continuously finding the next wave. Some authors genuinely enjoy that style of business. They enjoy experimenting with different tropes, moving quickly, and writing whatever seems to be gaining attention at the moment. For them, writing might feel more creative that happens to generate income. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if your goal is to build a long-term author business where each book strengthens the next one, trend chasing creates a structural challenge because trends rarely build on each other. They actually reset your marketing and systems each time. Let me contrast that with what happens when an author chooses an evergreen approach. Imagine an author who writes small-town romance. The first book attracts some readers. The second book strengthens the relationship with those readers. The third book confirms the experience readers expect from that author. By the time they are 6 or 7 books, something powerful starts to happen. Readers begin to recognize the author's voice. They know what emotional experience they're going to get, and they recommend those books to friends who enjoy the same kind of story. The marketing starts to compound. Every new book strengthens the previous ones. If someone discovers book 5, they go back and read books 1 through 4. That is very different from a trend-driven approach where each book may be aimed at a completely different audience. One month you're speaking to paranormal romance readers, the next month you're trying to reach dystopian science fiction readers, then historical romance readers. Every time you pivot like that, you are essentially rebuilding your audience from scratch. There is another piece of this that authors do not always see when they're looking at trend charts. Trend-driven books often have a short shelf life. They can sell extremely well for a few months, sometimes 6 months, sometimes a bit longer. But once the trend fades, that sales often fades with it. There are also times when a trend sticks and becomes mainstream. A good example here is mafia romance. It was a trend that exploded a few years back and consistently sells well today. If you were an author who chased that trend, you may find yourself still writing in it. If it's not something that you enjoy writing, but the money is there, then you have a different problem to that of an author who goes from trend to trend. Evergreen books behave differently, though. They may not explode overnight, but they continue to sell quietly for years. They keep appearing in reader recommendations. They keep getting discovered through series read-through. They keep building your reputation inside that particular story experience. They bring you joy to write. In other words, evergreen books create longevity, and longevity is what allows a writing career to become a business. So this is really the question every author has to answer for themselves. Do you want a business model built around chasing waves? Or do you want a business model built around compounding trust with readers over time, writing fiction that you enjoy? Both parts can make money, but they create very different lives. Trend chasing requires constant speed and constant reinvention. Evergreen writing builds momentum slowly, but the momentum builds. Personally, I recommend that authors think carefully about which path supports the kind of career they want to live inside. Because writing is not just about what works this month, it is about what still works 10 years from now. If you consistently write in one or more genres or tropes that you genuinely enjoy, readers begin to recognize you. They start to associate your name with a particular story experience. Maybe it's a small town romance, maybe it's a space opera with found family, maybe it's a cozy mystery with strong community. Whatever it is, readers learn what emotional journey they will get from you. And when that happens, every new book strengthens the previous one. Your marketing compounds instead of resetting. Your readers come back instead of rediscovering you, and the business becomes steadier. So rather than chasing every trend that appears, consider building your career around one or two story experiences readers can rely on you for. Your future self will thank you. Now, if you're wondering whether your sales instability is coming from trend chasing or something else entirely, the best next step is to take the audit linked below. It takes about 15 minutes and it will show you which of the 5 sales patterns might be leaking in your business. Because your sales instability is not about writing speed or trends, it's about structure and systems. Take the audit below and see where your system needs strengthening first.